This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
The wet turns white tonight. Good afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast. Yeah, lake effect snow warnings kick in for ski country early tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day. Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, Southern Erie, Wyoming counties in New York, Erie, McKean, and Warren counties in Pennsylvania, all in the bullseye. A foot or more of wind-blown snow is possible in those areas by early Saturday. Winds could gust to 40 miles per hour at times, creating dangerous driving conditions and causing isolated power problems too. Meteorologist Kevin Williams gets us started from the Weather Center. Is this an everybody gets something kind of thing, or is this strictly a lake effect event?
Well, the main impact, Bob, will be the lake effect. There's no question about that. But everybody will be impacted by the storm, which is currently located in Michigan. It's got an Arctic front with it. It's going to slice and dice our region later this afternoon and tonight. Ahead of it this morning and midday, we've been enjoying a taste of spring, early spring, sort of. Relatively, I say enjoying, but it's been mild. But that front will send our temperatures tumbling, winds whistling, and yes, the lake flakes flying. Everybody will deal with the wind, gusting past 40 miles an hour tonight and Thanksgiving Day. It'll also make, by the way, maybe for some interesting views of that Macy's parade with the balloons there in New York. But the lake effect is the question. And here's been my thinking, hasn't changed much. The flow late tonight into tomorrow will be from the west-southwest. So that'll mean areas east and northeast of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario will be under the gun. Then those winds turn into the northwest, and that will mean the band shifts south. So, for example, the Lake Erie band moves more and focuses on the western Twin Tiers. It also makes it into central New York. Yeah. And those are the concerns for Friday into Saturday for lake snow. In these snow bands, Bob, it's going to snow an inch or two an hour, and the winds will be producing whiteouts. But outside of these snow bands, you could be seeing some sunshine and just a passing flurry. So that's why travelers later tonight through Saturday morning should prepare for changeable conditions and winter conditions at times.
Yeah, multi-day lake effect event here. I'm hearing maybe as much as 2 feet in the belts.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't shock me. Right now we're going a foot or more in the higher elevations south of Buffalo from late tonight through tomorrow evening. Yeah. So I could see amounts exceeding a foot, and with lake effect you almost always get a lollipop or two where you get much more than everybody else. So that would not shock me. And remember, there'll be wind with this. And Bob, it's going to be a wet snow. So I don't know how much, there'll be some blowing, but it's going to kind of paste everything in those areas. So like you look out, everything is just pasted in this wet snow that's blown into the trees and to your windshields kind of thing. So, I-90 south of Buffalo to Erie, that's an area to watch. The intersection of I-90 and I-81 on Friday into Saturday would be an area to watch for some challenging travels. Likewise, Route 104 east of Rochester to Oswego will be an area to watch late tomorrow night through Friday night.
All right, gotcha. I hope they got some strong strings on those balloons down in Manhattan tomorrow. And we're taking in the parade. Kevin, thank you so much, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Back at you and yours, Bob, and our great listeners. Blessings for all.
All right, Kevin Williams doing a great job at the Weather Center. We'll check back with him in a few, but first, the day's other news. The holiday getaway is well underway. Reporter Chris Van Clee.
AAA expects today will be the busiest day on the roads ahead of Thanksgiving, as more than 73 million people are expected to drive this year. Among them, the Kant family driving from Atlanta to Nashville.
It would take longer to fly with taking an Uber to the airport or driving, parking, taking the plane, train, and all that, and getting through TSA, so it's just faster to drive.
At the world's busiest airport in Atlanta, delays lingered Tuesday after a fast-moving thunderstorm forced a brief evacuation of the air traffic control tower.
Please move this way now.
In Nashville, it was a security concern that forced the evacuation of a packed terminal at the airport last night. After a quick sweep, the terminal reopened.
That's Chris Van Cleve at the airport today in Nashville, Tennessee. White House peace on envoy Steve Witkoff headed to Moscow next week to try and jumpstart peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. President Trump is hopeful a ceasefire deal can be reached.
We're having good talks. We started with Russia, Ukraine. I'd like to see it end. And we won't know for a little while, but we're making progress.
National security analyst Dr. Rebecca Grant thinks for the first time in a long time, there's a real chance at peace in Eastern Europe.
I think peace is on the way for Ukraine. This war needs to end for America's sake, too. It's unleashed geopolitical chaos with China, Russia, North Korea, and it's a humanitarian disaster.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says the recognition of Russian sovereignty over captured territory is a problem. Dr. Grant admits the land dispute is a major sticking point in these negotiations.
I'd like to see every Russian out of Ukraine, but the fact is Putin really does need to bring this to an end if he has any hope of putting Russia back into the world economy sometime in the future.
We'll see if they can strike a deal. That war's been raging for almost 4 years now. The 2025 Atlantic hurricane season screeches to an end this weekend, and for the first time in a decade, no hurricane made landfall in this country this year. The only named storm to strike the U.S. was Tropical Storm Chantal. That brought rain and flooding to North Carolina. This year's hurricane season saw 13 named storms, 5 of which became hurricanes. One of those, Hurricane Melissa, was the third strongest on record, but it posed no threat to the U.S., only Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican, and Cuba. The U.S. military is severing ties with Scouting America. They used to be called the Boy Scouts.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who also uses the title Secretary of War, says the Scouts are no longer a meritocracy and has become an organization designed to, quote, attack boy-friendly spaces. Secretary Hegseth also criticized Scouting for being what he calls genderless. The military has provided support for the Scouts for more than 100 years, but Hegseth says it no longer supports the future of American boys. Scouting America released a statement saying it is surprised and disappointed and added its American values have not changed. Linda Kenyon, Washington.
Move over Tokyo. The world has a new largest city. That city is Jakarta, Indonesia. Population 42 million. Jakarta edging out the Bangladeshi capital of Dhaka, which ranked second this year with a population of almost 40 million. Tokyo, home to 37 million, slipped to third place this year. New Gallup poll shows nearly 1 in 10 U.S. adults have been diagnosed with cancer at some point in their life. Dr. Randall Lee with the Fox Chase Cancer Center.
This is a survey of the prevalence of cancer in the U.S. And this is very different from the incidence of cancer, which is the measurement of the number of new cases.
Dr. Lee says while the prevalence of cancer is up, the incidence rate is actually down. That means there are fewer new cancer cases.
We have made such advancements in medicine and how we treat and how we screen and how we care for patients and how we treat cancer altogether that patients are actually living longer after their diagnoses and actually potentially even curing a lot of these patients.
Dr. Lee says the incidence of cancer in younger people is troubling. More people than ever before under the age of 50 are being diagnosed with cancers like colorectal or breast cancer. Back from the dead in Bangkok, Thailand. Check this out. A 65-year-old woman was discovered alive recently in her coffin after being brought to a Buddhist temple for cremation. Imagine their surprise. Temple workers heard a faint knocking from inside the coffin. When they opened it up, the woman moved her arms and head after being unresponsive for 2 days. Everybody thought she was dead, but she was very much alive. Still to come on the Noon Report, getting ready for the snow, Christmas shopping by the numbers, and some help in preparing that bird tomorrow.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. We've got some big changes ahead in our weather. I'll detail them in the complete forecast. That's up in 10 minutes.
All right, Kevin, thank you very much. Wintry weather will turn that Thanksgiving holiday into a work day for snowplow operators in western New York, Erie County. among the areas expecting heavy lake effect snow. Public Works Commissioner Bill Geary says they'll be ready for whatever Old Man Winter dishes out.
We'll have crews on the ready as well as working probably around the clock from Wednesday afternoon through Friday afternoon when this is designated to let up. Just give the plows plenty of room. Don't crowd them. Just be very vigilant and have situational awareness.
Bill Johnson drives a snowplow in Chautauqua County, which is also in the bullseye for bad weather. He says it's crucial. Give yourself plenty of braking distance when those lake flakes start to fly.
Give yourself plenty of time. Be prepared for the unexpected, especially if you're traveling by car.
West Seneca Supervisor Gary Dixon says winter weather response is truly a team effort.
The county especially does some of the major roads. We help them out on some of those roads. So in general, I mean, it's really one big team, everybody working together. This is not our first rodeo. They're very good at it, and so they're ready.
Statewide, New York will be utilizing over 300 snowplows to keep the highways and byways as clear as possible over the next few days. New data from the financial firm Deloitte shows Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales are expected to drop by about 4% from last year. Katarina Schmeider with the Better Business Bureau says the main reason for this is because retailers started offering those Christmas deals earlier this year.
E-commerce is expected to grow from 7 to 9% and total more than $300 billion this year. And we also know that people are starting their shopping even earlier, with a lot of retailers advertising Black Friday deals even earlier than they usually do.
The National Retail Federation predicts overall Christmas sales will top the $1 trillion mark for the first time ever this year. Some changes in store to New York's medical marijuana law. The reforms include allowing qualified patients ages 18 and up to cultivate cannabis in their home. These new regulations take effect in 3 months. A bill banning race-based hair discrimination is now law in Pennsylvania. The so-called Crown Act makes it illegal for employers to discriminate based on hair type or style. Governor Shapiro signed that law yesterday.
We know that this is an issue that disproportionately affects Black Pennsylvanians who wear their hair in protective styles like locks and natural braids or twists.
House Speaker Joanna McClinton says the Crown Act makes it so employees are judged on their qualifications, not their appearance.
Wherever you work or wherever you're applying for a job, they can't look at your hair and size you up, not based on your qualifications and all of the professional development you have and all of your education. They will not look at your hair and decide you can't work here.
The Crown Act also protects head coverings and hairstyles associated with religious beliefs and applies to students at school as well. Pennsylvania's congressional Republicans want the nation's health secretary to investigate the abortion pill mifepristone. They've joined 200 other lawmakers from all over America in requesting a thorough review of the abortifacient. They call mifepristone baby poison and want the government to ban the sale of the drug by mail. The FDA approved mifepristone 25 years ago and allowed its dispersal through the mail during COVID. Well, if you're cooking the turkey for tomorrow's Thanksgiving feast, reporter Christopher Cruz has some news you can use.
Have a meat thermometer handy and not one of those pop-up ones. That will help you know that the turkey is at least 165 degrees when you serve it, and it will help you stay out of the danger zone,
which is 40 to 140 degrees.
Penn State food safety expert Mary Alice Gettings, who says you should also make sure the stuffing is at 165 degrees or higher, and she says stuff the bird at the last minute and loosely so you don't dry out the bird.
All right, Christopher Cruz with some turkey preparation tips on this day before the holiday. Sports next. It's the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, the Buffalo Bills are adding a proven playmaker to their receiving core. Wideout Brandon Cooks asked to be waived by the New Orleans Saints earlier in the week. He cleared waivers on Monday and signed with the Bills yesterday. Cooks has 729 career catches for close to 10,000 yards and 60 touchdowns in his career. Baseball news. The National League Cy Young Award winner is getting a huge payout. Paul Skeens received a record arbitration amount of $3.4 million. The Pirate Hurlers shattered the previous record held by Bobby Witt Jr. by $400,000. And the Red Sox have acquired Sonny Gray from the St. Louis Cardinals for Brandon Clark and Richard Fitz. Now with the starting top three of Garrett Crochet, Brian Bello, and Sonny Gray, that makes Boston's starting pitching a formidable group. Just 3 games played in the NBA last night in Philly. The 76ers were blown out by the Orlando Magic, 144-103. This game was over by halftime as the Magic broke a 35-all tie with 51 points in the second quarter. Anthony Black scored 27 of his career-high 31 points in the first half. Tyrese Maxey led Philadelphia. He had 20 points. The Wizards got 46 points from C.J. McCollum and knocked off the Hawks 132-113. McCollum, 10 of 13 from three-point land. And Luka Doncic poured in 43 points, dished out 13 assists to lead the Lakers over the Clippers 135-118. Doncic just missed out on a triple-double. He had 9 rebounds. And on the ice, the Stars skated past the Oilers 8-3. That is a look at sports.
Thank you, Randy Man. Still to come on the Noon Report. Push for peace in Eastern Europe. Lake effect for your holiday getaway. And who you gonna call come turkey time? Nope. Better call Butterball. Details after this.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. English poet John Milton, author of Paradise Lost, wrote that the purpose of education is to, and I quote, repair the ruins of our first parents by regaining to know God aright, and out of that knowledge to love Him, to imitate Him, to be like Him by possessing our souls of true virtue, end quote. Well, today, that kind of vision for education is largely absent, of course. And yet, all education, whether clearly articulated or not, assumes some vision of life with deep cultural and political implications. This reality helps explain why the recent announcement from the Federal Department of Education drew such sharp reactions from across the political spectrum. According to the announcement, the Department of Education will transfer several programs to other federal agencies through a series of interagency agreements. A senior department official quoted by ABC News said that these moves represent a major step forward in downsizing the department and returning educational authority to the states. Now, the plan does not eliminate current programs. It outsources a number of them. For example, sections of the Office of Post-Secondary Education will now be jointly managed with the Department of Labor. Other offices, such as those overseeing civil rights complaints and federal student loans, will remain within the Department of Education. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon noted to CBS News that this quote-unquote testing process may help Congress determine how it might eventually codify these transitions into law, advancing the Trump administration's long-term goal of devolving education authority back to the states, or even closing the Department of Education altogether. Now, reducing government bureaucracy is almost always a good thing. However, any attempt to minimize or eliminate the federal role in education without also reclaiming the telos, the purpose, the end of education, will ultimately fail. And it is here that the Christian worldview offers, and always have, both clarity and direction. Theoretically, Christians can offer a clear and compelling vision of education as the transmission of wisdom, of knowledge, and cultural inheritance to future generations. It is the purpose of education to shape image bearers into who they were created by God to be. As I wrote in Restoring All Things, God's audacious plan to change the world through everyday people, a truly Christian education acknowledges both a created order and a moral order. And I quote, "Throughout history, Christians not only have seen education as a common good, but also could explain why it was a common good. To know about God's world is to know about God Himself. And so learning is intrinsically good because it has this transcendent purpose. Further, from a Christian worldview, it can be clearly said that there's a moral order to the world. And so, for knowledge to be good, it must be properly ordered, with the technical understood in light of the moral. Indeed, the very first humans were corrupted by acquiring knowledge of something that they were not made to know." End quote. Colson Educators program equips Christian educators with this kind of vision to live with faithfulness and courage in this moment of incredible opportunity. Through digital courses and the annual Rooted Educators Conference, worldview formation is connected with professional growth, all for the purpose of the intellectual and moral development of students. Please learn more about Colson Educators at courses.colsoneducation.org. That's courses.colsoneducation.org. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint.
All right, John, thank you for that. Outside next, Kevin Williams.
Here is your Family Life forecast. This afternoon, cloudy with showers, high temperatures 50s to near 60, but with tumbling temperatures. For tonight and tomorrow, developing lake effect snow and blowing snow with significant accumulations in the snow belts east of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Outside of those snow belts, it'll just be rain showers changing to snow showers again with strong winds. Low temps tonight, 20s and low 30s. High temps tomorrow in the 30s. Lake effect snows on Friday will shift southeast. Otherwise, variable clouds, brisk and cold with flurries and highs upper 20s and 30s.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Hundreds of snowplow operators at the ready all over New York and PA as major lake effect snow arrives just as the Thanksgiving holiday gets underway. New York Governor and Western New York native Kathy Hochul says if there's one thing she knows about the lake effect is that it's highly unpredictable.
All the predictors and all the technology we use to identify, where we think it's going to happen, so many times Mother Nature just changes her mind, and that's when we can't be caught off guard.
Utility crews also on standby in case of power outages. A foot or more of windblown snow possible south and east of Lakes Erie and Ontario. Winter storm warnings in effect in the snowbelts from early tomorrow through early Saturday. New developments in the push for peace in war-torn Ukraine. The White House is sending a special envoy to Moscow next week with the hopes of shoring up a deal to end the fighting between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky not happy about land concessions, but he does seem open to the framework, at least, for a deal. Reporter Keir Simmons has the latest from Kyiv.
President Trump saying that he'll meet with both Zelensky and Russian President Putin, quote, soon, but only when the deal to end this war is final or in its final stages. In Ukraine, there is no sign of a ceasefire soon. Overnight, buildings burning in Zaporizhia, where Ukraine is under intense pressure from Russian forces. Trump adding that his Russia envoy, Steve Witkoff, and possibly his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, will meet with Putin as soon as next week.
The FBI wants to speak to each of the 6 congressional Democrats who made a controversial video. On that video, those Democrats urge U.S. troops to disobey unlawful orders. President Trump's called that seditious behavior.
I'm not backing down. Arizona Democratic Senator Mark Kelly is one of 6 Democratic lawmakers who are now part of an escalating face-off with the Trump administration after posting a 90-second long video last week urging military members not to follow unlawful orders they may receive.
Members of the military need to follow the law. We wanted to say that we have their backs.
Now, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has launched a probe of Kelly, a retired Navy captain, accusing him of misconduct and threatening him with a court-martial. Multiple sources tell CBS News the FBI contacted congressional leaders Monday to tell them the Bureau plans to speak with each of the 6 lawmakers. All 6 are veterans of the military or the intelligence community.
That's Scott McFarland on Capitol Hill. More of us are expected to be on the hunt for deals this upcoming Black Friday, traditionally the start of the Christmas shopping season. A new Deloitte survey shows spending, though, will be down about 4% from last year. Correspondent Nick Harper.
The reasons being the continued high cost of living, tariffs pushing up prices, and the general uncertainty about the economy, with a separate survey showing that 2/3 of Americans say they're particularly worried about job security and finances in the coming year.
Deloitte's 2025 Holiday Retail Survey shows Black Friday and Cyber Monday shoppers will spend just north of $600 on those 2 crucial Christmas shopping days this year. You're listening to the Noon Report, a midweek edition on Family Life.
churches sharing resources in underserved areas. Welcome back to another edition of Real Answers. It's a regular Wednesday feature during the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues that matter to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Welcome back, Chris.
Thanks, Mark. Good to be back.
Our topic today is one I have no doubt pastors in smaller and more rural churches can really relate to: the sharing of resources in underserved areas. I guess we should start by defining that term a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think we have a few churches in this area of our listening area that meet the criteria. And I would say, really, Mark, when we're talking about resources, of course, we're not necessarily just talking about buildings or picnic pavilions or whatever. I'm talking about people, really, ministry programs, and like in any real care industry, and it can be the healthcare industry, or it can be social care industries or whatever. We've got rural areas that just have a hard time meeting the needs of folks. So this is a really timely topic, especially maybe in light of Thanksgiving week, when everybody's thinking about giving and serving.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. It's about sharing burdens. Too often in smaller church settings, pastors are expected to do it all, right down to cleaning the bathrooms. And congregants too, especially younger ones with young families. They get so stretched thin with their own schedules, it gets hard for them to pitch in much, and things get rather complicated when it comes to divvying up the ministry and serving everyone's needs.
Absolutely. And of course, we know there's that 80-20 principle we're all used to a lot of times in churches, where 80% of the workload is done by 20% of the folks in the church. And so that's something that churches, even in larger city areas, run up against. But the problem is when you do have needs, and again, a well-functioning church is going to have a very solid men's ministry, and then also a women's ministry, a children's ministry. But when you don't have churches that have the resources to provide this, I guess the question is then, what do you do? Now, I might be ruffling some feathers out there, particularly of some folks that do believe like, hey, this is our church, your church home is here, you got to stay in one spot. Boy, I have to just be honest with you. I think that is a very unhealthy mindset. I mean, if we're not careful, then of course what's really happening then is our churches just end up in a competition with one another, as opposed to looking at ways of saying, hey, we are all the body of Christ. How can we best serve an area that traditionally suffers from a lack of resources and a lack of effective outreaches? And so I think we have to remove some of those old-fashioned blinders, if you will, and just say, hey, look, we've got a group of folks here that they're not getting met necessarily here. How can we then partner with another church?
You're listening to Real Answers. I'm Mark Webster, along with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. We're talking about sharing resources in underserved areas. And a corollary to that topic is having your own congregation share its resources to help lighten the burden. That's actually been a point of emphasis in my own church recently. We did a congregation-wide survey of everybody's talents so that we'd be better equipped to share, because having people ready to step up really makes a world of difference, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's just what you're doing, is you're just doing a human resources inventory, if you will, looking at the skills and looking at the gifts and abilities that you have within your particular church, and then just say, okay, here's something that we can do with what we have that perhaps another church wouldn't be able to do. And again, it's just being able to get away from the fear that, well, we don't want to send our people to a different church because then maybe they might leave and go to that church. You know what? But quite honestly, if the Lord's going to lead somebody to go to a different church, that's between the Lord and that church congregant. Give them your blessing and let them go. The reality is we're at a time where connection is vital. I get so many folks in my practice that they just say, I can't connect. They're disconnected, they're isolated, they're depressed, they're anxious. So we got to look at this from a bigger picture perspective, not be so concerned about, well, what if our people leave our church? We got to really look at, okay, what's in the best interest of our rural communities and the best interest of the church as a whole, and what can we do to encourage cooperation?
And you could argue that some of this issue really goes back to COVID even. A lot of churches started going online during the pandemic. Some people just stayed that way afterwards. And if you're attending mostly electronically, I'm not necessarily saying that's a terrible thing, but it's hard to really be involved in the life of the church that way.
It's not necessarily a terrible thing as long as it has its proper place. And I do, in my practice, I do offer telehealth counseling services. I've got clients in New York City. I've got clients up near the Albany area. And while I think that does serve a place, personal connection, when you're with other people, sharing meals together, game nights, doing things, outdoor activities together, that right there is where the real community happens. That's where real connection takes place. And honestly, this cyber connection we've got that's just taken over our lives is never going to be the same.
You've been listening to Real Answers, a Wednesday feature of the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues important to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Thanks again, Chris.
Always a pleasure, Mark.
All right, great topic today, guys. Thank you very much. Real Answers is available online as well at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or our website, familylife.org.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Well, Thanksgiving travel is underway. We've got some different issues to talk about. Big storm in Michigan, sending a powerful Arctic front through the area. That's going to mean big changes in our weather over the next 24 hours. For this afternoon, across the board, it's cloudy with showers, some rumbles of thunder for some along the I-81 corridor. Mild, high temperatures 50s to near 60, but with tumbling temperatures in western New York and northwest Pennsylvania. For tonight and tomorrow, developing lake effect snow and blowing snow with significant accumulations in the snow belts east of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Outside of those snow belts, however, it'll just be rain showers changing to snow showers, again with strong winds. Low temps tonight, 20s and low 30s. High temps tomorrow in the 30s. Lake effect snows on Friday will shift southeast of the lakes. Otherwise, variable clouds, brisk and cold with flurries and highs upper 20s and 30s.
All right, wherever you are headed this holiday weekend, please drive safely and pack some patience. Things are getting pretty congested out there. Fine at noon, thank God for these guys. The Butterball Turkey Talk Line is open for business and ready to assist any and all holiday cooks. Correspondent Bree Tennis.
The phone lines are staffed with volunteers who know the ins and outs of all things turkey and can talk you through just about any crisis, from forgetting to thaw your bird, there's a workaround, how to test the temperature, no, you can't use a fever thermometer, and how to create a bikini tan line on the bird. You do that with foil before roasting. The talk line can be reached at 1-800-BUTTERBALL, and it's available through December 24th. I'm Bree Tennis.
All right, bikini tan line on your Thanksgiving turkey. Never heard of that one. Anyway, I'm sure they'll be extra busy for the next few hours at least. And that's our world, the world we live in. Wednesday, November 26th. From all of us at Family Life, have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. I'm Bob Price, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.